Phone buzzes cold. Right now, you're at the altar exchanging vows. A margin call notification suddenly glows from your pocket. You remember the before. Eyes always locked on charts, fear dictating every move, never truly present in your own life. Now you finally taste emotional detachment from money, true psychological freedom. Walk away from charts and still win. That's the after. But here's what nobody tells you about that buzzing altar. It's purely educational. No guaranteed results. Mindset, not financial advice. You step into the suit and it feels like armor. But your pocket buzzes. A live account, positions open, a war raging behind a screen. You're physically present, mentally in the charts. Your open positions are like a candle burning in a room you can't see. The flame is real, consuming oxygen, threatening the house. And here's the psychology of the addicted trader. You can't stop seeing the chart even when it's not there. You blink and see a red candle forming. Sacred moments become background noise. You're at the altar of your life but kneeling at the church of the market, praying for a wick to bounce. It's not greed, it's fear of the fire you lit. And then the vibration started. Not once, 3 times. A short buzz, a pause, then 2 quick ones. That pattern, you know it. It's not a text from a friend, it's the platform. You feel your chest tighten against the starched shirt. The air suddenly feels thin in a room full of people. That triple vibration is a margin call. In plain language, your broker has run out of patience. The money you used as collateral has evaporated, and the system is demanding you deposit more cash instantly. If you don't, the algorithm takes over. It will forcibly sell your assets at the worst possible price, with surgical coldness, to protect itself from you. What I did in the next 90 seconds changed how I trade forever, but not the way you'd expect. I didn't flip a phone. I didn't scream a sell order. The transformation wasn't in the execution. It was in the stillness before it. The phone felt heavy, like a detonator. My hand moved toward the pocket, completely independent of my brain. Most traders make one fatal choice in this moment. I almost made it too. The fatal choice isn't blowing the account. The fatal choice is reinforcing a broken identity. You think your job is to manage the trade. But the urgent, vibrating phone tricks you into forgetting your job was to manage the state of mind managing the trade. Freeze, rewind. Let me tell you why this moment is the most valuable lesson in trading you'll ever get. The wedding didn't ruin the trade. The trade nearly ruined the wedding. We spend years learning candlestick patterns, but nobody teaches us how to switch off the screen and die to the P and L for 2 hours. Here is the core theme. You cannot separate the trader from the human. If you are reckless with your attention as a human, you will be reckless with your risk as a trader. The market doesn't just exploit your stop loss. It exploits your inability to be where your feet are. A fragmented life creates a fragmented account. You think you're being aggressive, seizing opportunity, but the market doesn't see ambition. It sees a stretched rubber band and it will snap back through your account without mercy. You weren't trading an asset. You were trading a fantasy of what that money would prove about you. The margin call isn't a math error. It's a psychology report. Over-leverage is just the symptom. The root cause, greed disguised as conviction. You didn't size that position based on the chart. You sized it based on the gap between who you are and who you desperately want to be. You thought, this is the one. The job quitter, the debt eraser, the I told you so trade. And that need for validation made the risk invisible. You broke your own rules not because you forgot them, but because you felt you deserved an exception. The market, however, is a brutal egalitarian. It doesn't care about your story. It only cares about your size. But the real problem wasn't the trade. It was who I became to place it. I wasn't a disciplined student of probability. I was an ego with a brokerage account, demanding the universe pay me what I felt I was owed. The moment you need a trade to work, you've already lost. Because you'll hold it too long, add to it too soon, and ignore every sign screaming for you to get out. You're not trading capital anymore. You're trading your self-worth, one tick at a time. And that is the most expensive commodity on earth. This is what I call emotional leverage. Financial leverage is the number on your screen, 10x, 50x, 100x. It's clean math. Emotional leverage is the weight behind the click. It's the hope, the fear, the desperation, the overconfidence. Financial leverage amplifies your returns. Emotional leverage amplifies your self-destruction. You can have a 2x account and still blow up if your emotional leverage is 100x. Your inner state dictates your outer risk. A calm trader with 50x leverage is safer than a frantic trader using none. The margin call doesn't start when your equity hits zero. It starts in the moment you silently say, "I can't afford to be wrong." There's a specific type of trader who ends up here, staring at a liquidation price they swore they'd never hit. And you might be one of them without knowing it. These traders aren't stupid. They're not amateurs. They're usually the smartest people in the room, driven, passionate. But that very drive becomes a weapon turned inward. They fall into distinct patterns, archetypes of destruction. Recognizing yours is the only way to disarm it. If you don't see yourself clearly, you will repeat this painful lesson, each time with a higher price tag until the tuition bankrupts you. The first archetype is the revenge trader. You took a loss, a totally normal, predictable loss, and it stung your pride. So you jump right back in, doubling the size, not to make a good trade, but to annihilate the memory of the bad one. You're not thinking, you're reacting. The second is the hopeful holder. You're in a losing position, but you refuse to accept it. You conjure reasons, news articles, vague chart patterns to justify your hope. You move your stop loss, then delete it entirely, praying for a miracle that statistically will not come. Hope is not a strategy. The third archetype is the overconfident winner. You just closed a string of flawless victories. Your analysis is clicking. Your P and L curve is a straight line up, and a dangerous thought enters your head. I've figured it out. This is the prelude to disaster. The winner, inflated by a hot streak, increases size precisely at the moment of peak vulnerability. The market lulls you into a false sense of genius, then punishes the arrogance. But these three archetypes all lead to the same place. The archetype I was that day, the most dangerous one of all. A winning streak is a fog. It feels like clarity, a soft, enveloping certainty that you can see everything. But it's hiding the cliff. Each win adds a layer of mist, muffling the voice of risk. You start breaking tiny rules just to test them. The market indulges you. It lets you get away with a bad entry, a skipped stop, and you mistake its temporary tolerance for permanent skill. The fog isolates you from reality. You can't see how far you've drifted from your process until the ground disappears beneath your feet, and you're in free fall. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Trading is the most personal, impersonal endeavor on the planet. Think about a long-term commitment, a deep trust. You'd never commit your life to someone based on a 5-minute conversation. Yet you commit a devastating portion of your account to a position based on a feeling, a tweet, a 1-minute candle. You are more loyal to a random ticker symbol than you are to your own trading plan. You marry the position. You ignore its flaws. You defend it publicly. And just like a toxic relationship, the tighter you hold on, the more it takes from you. You can divorce a spouse. You can leave a job, but you can't divorce a position that's already gapped against you. You are bound to it. It owns your mental space, your sleep, your peace. It's a commitment you can't control to an outcome you can't dictate. The screen doesn't care about your loyalty. It just reflects your refusal to let go. Your commitment shouldn't be to the position. It should be to the process. to the rules that protect you from your own destructive loyalties. That's the decision that's looming right now. You know that feeling, the phone vibrating like a live wire, charts bleeding red, your mind racing. If I just check, I can manage the damage. You tell yourself it's discipline. It's not, it's captivity. I was at that wedding, the vows echoing, the air thick with promise. My pocket hummed with loss. Every cell wanted to look, to intervene, to control the chaos. But I didn't. I put the phone face down, screen dark against the tablecloth. I turned toward the couple and I let the market move without me. You think that's the happy ending. It wasn't. That choice led to liquidation. The thing you fear most delivered. And yet, that surrender cost me everything on the screen, but gifted something far more valuable. The account liquidated. $12,847.63 erased. Numbers like that brand your memory. They flash when you close your eyes. I waited for the spiral. Shame, regret, the desperate need to revenge trade. Standing in the coat check, I finally looked. The red balance stared back, but the collapse never came. Instead, a wave of relief washed over me, warm and unbidden. The money was gone, but I had been alive at that wedding. I heard the laughter, felt the hugs, danced without a phone in my hand. The sting of loss paled against the richness of presence. I expected devastation. I found lightness. You've lost before, you know the drill, the self-blame, the darkness. This was different. I'd sacrificed a number and gained a night etched forever. That relief was a signal I'd been ignoring for years. That relief delivered a lesson. Your worth is not your P and L. I had fused my identity to my account balance, so every loss felt like personal erasure. This is identity fusion, when your self-concept merges with your trade outcomes. A red day becomes a death sentence. That night, I experienced a separation, a glimpse that I existed beyond the screen. There's a mental exercise that made this separation permanent. A simple daily practice I'll share with you later. But first, you must grasp the deeper trade-off. Presence versus performance. The wedding taught me that being fully alive is worth more than any stop-out. When you choose the moment, you reclaim your life from the market's jaws. The exercise will show you how to do this under fire. But let's first look at what you're really playing for. Presence is the asset that never liquidates. That wedding gave me a return no brokerage can match. Performance is the scoreboard, flashing, demanding, but hollow. You are never playing for the score. You play for the dance, the laughter, the embrace. Yet so many traders miss life's crucial moments, phones in hand, only to still bleed out capital. The account is a shiny distraction from the real P&L, your memories. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. The exercise I'll walk you through embeds this shift, because the market doesn't care if you miss the moment. It will take your money anyway. The only antidote is presence. But first, let me be blunt with you. Most traders would have missed that wedding. They'd have hunched in the bathroom, phone clutched, sweating the chart, and they still would have gotten liquidated. The market steals your money and your moments if you let it. The hard truth, losing money was sometimes inevitable, but missing life is a choice. I chose the moment, and that choice birthed relief. You are not you never were. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. Discipline is the only alpha that compounds. The phone face down wasn't a risk. It was the first trade that actually mattered. Trade your presence. The exercise I'll give you locks this in. So that relief you felt, it becomes your baseline. Stillness, clarity, memory, discipline. No screen can compete. You tell yourself it's about the money, but it never was. Worth it isn't about the trade. It's about reclaiming your life, the moments you miss, the presence you lose, the version of yourself that stares at a screen instead of into the eyes of people who love you. The real profit isn't the P&L. But this raises a question that stings. Can you actually trade and live? You've tried willpower. You've promised yourself next time will be different. And then the market opens, your heart races, and suddenly you're over-leveraged again, chasing a feeling instead of following a plan. It's not a character flaw. You simply lack a system that protects you from yourself. Your psychology needs scaffolding, automated stop losses that exit before hope becomes rationalization, position limits that cap your risk while you sleep, preset rules that remove emotion from the equation when emotion is all you have. This isn't restriction, it's liberation. The rule that would have saved my account that day is embarrassingly simple. It's not a secret indicator. It's not a complex options strategy whispered in private Discord servers. It's the 2% rule. You never risk more than 2% of your account on any single trade. That's it. When you respect this, margin calls become mathematically impossible. A string of losses becomes a paper cut, not a guillotine. You stop revenge trading because the damage is contained. Your account becomes a fortress, not because you're a genius, but because you've removed the ability to self-destruct. Once you internalize this, you can leave your phone at the door of any wedding. You can watch your son blow out candles without glancing at a candlestick chart. Detachment becomes your ultimate edge. The trader who doesn't need the trade to win, wins more. Desperation alters your perception. It turns noise into patterns and gambles into high-conviction setups. Freedom in trading is the ability to be indifferent to any single outcome. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your rules are working harder than your impulses. Now pause, I need to ask you something. If you're still here, if something in this video felt like a mirror, then this is your moment. Hit like, subscribe, but most importantly, comment the word trading below, type it now. This isn't for the algorithm. This is your public commitment to never over-leverage again. It's a contract with yourself, witnessed by thousands of traders choosing discipline over destruction. And to make sure you keep that promise, I've put 2 free gifts in the description. The first is my 15-step checklist to use before every trade. It's the exact pre-flight protocol I run so I never enter blind. The second is a risk management calculator. You plug in your account size, it tells you your maximum position. No math, no emotion. These are the tools that would have prevented my wedding day margin call. They will skyrocket your results. Go get them, your life is waiting. Here's the twist. The margin call wasn't an accident. Part of me wanted it. You know that moment where you feel relief when the account finally blows? That's not weakness, it's a subconscious program. You learned that losing feels familiar, almost safe. Success sits outside your comfort zone like a room you don't deserve to enter. So you self-sabotage to stay in the pain you understand. But it's not your fault. It's the method you never examined. The one installed before you ever placed a trade. I discovered I had a money ceiling I didn't know existed. Every time my account climbed past a certain number, I'd make an unforced error and hand it all back. Limiting beliefs cap your growth like a governor on an engine. You blow up whenever you exceed the level your subconscious can hold. Fear of success whispers, "You're not the type." So you revert to the familiar loss because that identity is safe. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. Your ceiling isn't real. It's just a story running on repeat. There's a way to raise this ceiling, and it has nothing to do with charts. You start with a pen, not a position. Journaling isn't a hobby, it's reconnaissance on your own mind. Before you even look at a setup, write down what you're feeling. Bored, anxious, hungry. That's the real trade. Identify the emotional trigger before you click the button. Your beliefs about money are the thermostat. Your account is just the temperature. Change the setting in your mind, and the numbers in your portfolio follow. That's not woo-woo. That's programming your own operating system. Try this tonight. Write down your earliest money memory. The one from childhood you never connected to your trading. Maybe it's your father saying, money doesn't grow on trees, or watching your mother hide bills. That memory built a blueprint. And now every time you're about to make a profit, your brain whispers the same script. Write it out. Feel the charge. Then ask, how is this memory driving my stops and entries? That wedding I mentioned earlier, it forced a confrontation with what actually matters. And in the silence after, I saw the pattern clearly. You don't need another indicator. You need to meet the trader in the mirror, not with judgment but with curiosity. The loss you keep repeating is a door. Walk through it. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. When you understand why you sabotage, the sabotage loses its power. Your account stops acting like a pendulum between greed and guilt. It just reflects the new, steady temperature you set. And that thermostat, you hold the dial. Tonight start with one memory. One honest line. That's not self-help, that's the ultimate edge. The comeback wasn't about making the money back fast. It was the opposite. You felt that burn, the desperate need to claw back a loss, heart pounding, logic gone. But urgency is the enemy of execution. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. The rebuilding phase demands you slow everything down. Slow money, slow decisions. A routine rooted in presence, not panic. Before each session you sit, you breathe. You review your rules not as suggestions but as unbreakable walls. The market will tempt your impatience, but you anchor in the process. Patience over urgency. The first trade I placed after the wedding felt completely different, and here's why. I wasn't trading to escape pain or prove my worth. I was trading from abundance. Scarcity screams, you need this to work. Abundance whispers, you follow the plan and let the edge play out. That shift changed the emotional fuel. When you believe there will always be another setup, another day, you stop forcing. Stillness creates clarity. You start seeing the chart, not your fear. You execute like the trader you always knew you could be, grounded, present, whole. This one reframe made me profitable in a way panic never could. Neuroscience explains why. When you're calm, your prefrontal cortex, the human thinking center, runs the show. It weighs risk, sees patterns, and follows rules. Panic hijacks you down into the amygdala, the animal brain. That beast only reacts, fight, flight, or freeze. Panic trades from the animal brain. Wealth is built from the human one. Every time you notice your heart racing before clicking, you're in the amygdala. The work is to pause, breathe, and let the higher mind re-engage. Discipline is the bridge. Here's the part most people get wrong. They think trading without emotion means trading without care. They mistake detachment for carelessness, and that's dangerous. True emotional freedom isn't apathy. It's intensity channeled into process, not outcome. You still respect the risk. You still honor your stops. Discipline still matters intensely. You can be completely at peace and still razor sharp in execution. Stillness doesn't check out, it checks in. It's the balance of complete surrender to the moment and fierce commitment to the playbook. That paradox is where consistency lives. So you rebuild with slow money and a solid mind. You trade from abundance, from the prefrontal cortex, from discipline wrapped in calm. You remember, panic trades from the animal brain, wealth from the human one. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. And discipline, applied relentlessly, patiently, turns a painful past into a professional present. The comeback isn't a sprint. It's a homecoming to your highest self, one intentional trade at a time. You're staring at candles while she stares at the back of your head. You're not present, you're calculating risk, replaying losses, chasing the next setup. The people you love become invisible competitors for your attention, and they always lose. That wedding, it was mine, and my marriage almost paid the price for my charts. I stood at the altar, suit pressed, heart pounding, not from joy, but because I'd left a runner on GBPJPY and the stop was too tight. My bride squeezed my hand. I squeezed back, mentally recalculating my exit. The photographs show a man whose eyes are somewhere else. They always were. The obsession doesn't just steal your time, it steals your presence from the moments that can never be recovered. You think you're building a future, but you're burning the present to the ground. The screens don't love you back. The charts won't hold your hand when life gets hard. My partner said one thing that day that rewired my entire approach. She didn't shout, she didn't cry. She just looked at me calm and quiet and said, "I don't need the money, I need you." That sentence cut deeper than any blown account, because it exposed the lie I'd been living, that I was doing this for us. But if I was never actually with us, who was it for? You have to align your trading goals with your life goals, or you'll win a bankroll and lose everything that matters. Why are you really trading? Freedom, security, or just ego wearing a different mask? Ask the question before someone else asks it for you. When I answered that question honestly, I nearly quit trading entirely. Because the real answer wasn't financial independence, it was fear. Fear of being ordinary. Fear of not being enough without a six-figure statement. I'd wrapped my identity around the P&L, and the people in my life were just background noise. Trading should serve your life, not consume it. Money is fuel, but you have to know where you're driving first. Fuel poured on the ground just burns everything down. Define the destination before you floor the accelerator. Otherwise, you're speeding toward a cliff with your family in the back seat. Let me hit you with a hard question. You're at a wedding, a dinner, your kid's recital, and your phone buzzes with a trade alert. Where do your eyes go? Where does your mind go? Be brutally honest. Because every time you choose the screen, you're making a withdrawal from a relationship account that doesn't offer overdraft protection. What are you sacrificing at your own weddings, your own quiet Tuesdays, the small sacred moments that will never come again? The phrase "worth it" needs a reframe. Worth it doesn't mean the biggest drawdown you survived. Worth it means the hands you held instead of the mouse. Choose life over the screen. The market will still be there. The people might not be. You stare at a string of wins, then one loss shatters your confidence. You take a painful loss. Then 2 weeks later, you make the exact same mistake. It's not your fault. Your mind is repeating a pattern it was trained to repeat. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Memory creates discipline. So how do you build a mind that could survive that same moment and thrive? You need a system, not willpower. 4 pillars anchor the trader who never repeats the lesson. Risk rules, emotional detachment, identity separation, and life alignment. Commit to these, and you rewire your psychology. First pillar, risk rules. You decide your max loss before the market opens. Not a rough number, a hard line you will not cross. When that line is touched, you stop. No negotiation, no one more trade. This isn't about fear. It's about creating a container where your mind can operate without panic. Second pillar, emotional detachment. You practice watching your trades as a scientist watches an experiment. A win is data. A loss is data. You are not elated when you win. You are not crushed when you lose. Stillness creates clarity. Clarity creates memory. Now the pillar most traders skip and why they stay stuck. Identity separation. You are not your account balance. You are not your last trade. When your self-worth climbs and falls with your P&L, you cannot think clearly. You chase revenge. You overtrade. This is the open loop. The moment you separate your identity from your results, you become untouchable. The market can take your stops, but it cannot take your center. This is not a philosophy. It's a daily practice. A vow renewed each morning before you face the charts. The daily habit that anchors this took me under 5 minutes. Every morning before any screen, you sit with 3 simple actions. First, you review your risk rules aloud. Second, you set your maximum loss in writing, non-negotiable. Third, you affirm detachment. I am not my balance. I execute my plan. I accept any outcome. Discipline is the wedding ring you wear to your trading desk, a commitment renewed daily. It's not restrictive, it's freeing. It removes decisions from emotional heat and places them into a ritual of clarity. Now imagine the alternate timeline. The trader who never learned this lesson. He's at his daughter's recital, phone under his thigh, screen glowing. He's checking a position at dinner, his jaw tight, missing the conversation. He still blows up accounts, then swears next time will be different. That's the loop you leave behind. Now see yourself, free, present, disciplined. The market moves, you respond with calm. You trade to live, you don't live to trade. This life is not a distant dream. It's built, day by day, on the pillars you now own. You're back at the table. Your bride's hand tightens around yours. The vows are coming. You flip your phone face down, not to hide it, to bury it. That margin call didn't end you, it ended the old you. The one who thought presence was optional. Was it worth it? Let me finally answer that fully. Yes. Not despite the loss, because of it. That account vaporized my chains. You can't buy that clarity with a winning streak. I traded a number on a screen for the woman in white. I made the right trade. You saw the transformation. From checking charts during dinner to checking in with yourself before a setup. You stopped needing the next trade. You started needing this moment. That's not a strategy shift. That's a soul shift. The anxious, screen-chained trader died at that reception. Stillness created clarity. Clarity created memory. Memory created discipline. You learned to separate signal from noise, risk from identity. You detached outcome from worth. You stopped chasing and started attracting. The work wasn't technical, it was internal, and you did it. Remember the exercise I teased? Here it is. Before your next trade, close your eyes, take one breath. Now mentally step back 20 feet. You're in a spectator seat watching a trader, you about to click. Observe his grip on the mouse. Feel nothing. That's emotional fusion broken. Watch yourself trade without becoming the trade. Practice it. It takes 60 seconds and saves years. The traders who master this don't just make more, they lose the fear entirely. Fear dissolves when you're the observer, not the actor. The account balance stops being your heartbeat. You execute clean because clean is the only option. Presence protects P&L, but presence doesn't negotiate. This is the worth it philosophy. Your life is the real portfolio. When you're present at that wedding, that birth, that quiet Tuesday evening, you're deeply long what matters. The green days fade. The memories compound. Treat your attention like your last dollar. A margin call ends a trade, but it can begin a life. That forced exit isn't punishment, it's a permission slip. Permission to breathe without a chart, to eat without a bid price, to love without a stop loss. Your worst trading day can birth your best human days. Quick reminder, this is education, not advice. No results are guaranteed. The mindset framework builds a foundation. It doesn't promise outcomes. Trading risk remains yours. Protect capital fiercely, but build the mind louder. Here's your call to engagement. If this landed, do something radical like this video, subscribe. Then comment one word, trading. Not for me, for you. That comment is your public vow, a declaration that you choose presence over panic. Your capital and your consciousness both need protecting. I've got 2 free gifts in the description made exactly for this. The 15-step checklist to use before every trade. Walk through it mechanically before you click. And the risk management calculator to never risk too much again. These tools make wedding day margin calls impossible. They skyrocket results by installing guardrails around your discipline. Margin called at a wedding. Worth it. Because I walked away with something no account can hold.